your question is about language, Chase. Yeah. And fundamentally, it struck me as we were talking about this, that everything we've been talking about, EV charging, like software, you go down the list, recalls, etc. It's both for the industry and the consumers and the regulatory agencies and the government, the states, and everybody. Like it, EVs are an entirely new product category and an entirely new language, right?
Yeah.
And if we go back to the very beginning, early conversation, right? Like, you know, I had a cousin walk up years ago Thanksgiving and looked at the Tesla. Oh, that's a hybrid, right? Like people just don't understand the language, right? Yeah. And that's, you know, that's Matt's whole reason for existence, right? Is like we just have not done a good job in this industry. The automakers have failed at educating the consumers. It's like, you know, spend $2 million on a humorous Super Bowl commercial, and it's like, no, that doesn't help people understand what an EV is and why they should buy it.
Well,
right?
As you're pointing out, the human element is the most important part of the discussion. And oftentimes it turns into, you know, we hear right now, you know, the market will demand that they want these products. And right now the dealer argument with the 4,000 dealers that signed that letter to the Biden administration said, we don't think we're seeing that. We don't think we're seeing market demand. And we're seeing mandates. And even from a consumer perspective, we hear that we just go to any owners group, anything on social media related to EVs. How many people will you see? And I think John said earlier about, you will pry my V8 from my cold, dead fingers kind of thing. If they feel like something's being forced upon them, they will say, what, like, not all, but some might say, oh, I see why you're doing this out of altruism or something. Thank you, government. But it's all human factor. They're not understanding what we're saying. Oftentimes, they're not seeing the value because of how we aren't explaining it for what it does to benefit their lifestyle or their life. And it all comes down to, are they believing what they're hearing? And it is unfortunate that so often, and Loren, I appreciate bringing it up, is how we communicate this, even the discussion of gas car, hybrid, plug-in hybrid, pure electric, that clearly didn't work. It's not resonating. It's not working. The idea of kilowatts to explain charging ain't working. Stop doing it. You know, ports. And so what's that?
Charging ports.
Oh yeah, ports, because everybody puts on a sailor's hat and they go to port when they go to, I mean, just the level of lack of appreciation for communication. And
J1772.
Yeah. You know, and it goes down, the list goes on. And I think that, I mean, if we land on that, I mean, you can build the greatest software in the world. You can build the best, most cool product in the world. But this is where people like, again, Steve Jobs, to his credit, I mean, he was difficult to work for, but he was one of those people that understood how to take that technology and translate it into something that you're going to see value in this. And it was the idea of, we're not going to build what we think people are asking for. We're going to build what we understand they will want. And I don't know if that's happened a lot in the EV space. There's been a lot of that, you know. Well, again, Steve Jobs reference back in 97 when he was brought back to Apple and was asked, what have you been doing? And he said, we got two options. We can either sit down in the room with the engineers and ask them, what kind of cool stuff can we come up with, do that, and then go try to figure out how to market it. Or we can ask, where do we take our customers? And that's what they built their entire product existence around. And I think that that's a big problem right now for how we're positioning EVs, because at brass tacks, end of the day, what are we discussing? It's a car still. It gets you from point A to point B. There are some fringe benefits around convenience by sake of you can fill up at home. But at the end of the day, how does it change people's lives? And right now they perceive it changes it in a negative way, even though those of us who drive EVs can say, it's not actually. It's phenomenal in all these ways. That's, as you point out, Loren, that's all communication. That's all what that is. And it's been just dismissed by so many in the industry for the last 10 years. And it's just kind of baffling. I don't get it.
I agree. I think one thing, I mean, there's a lot I've learned today, but one thing I've clearly learned is we could talk about this all day.
Yeah.
Clearly we have
empty.
some interests and passions about these topics in space.